Let's throw our hands in the air as we soar through the sky.
Yatta!
We'll catch the sun with your hand in mine, and if we work as a team, everything will be fine.
Yeah!
Oh, it's Cure of the What Now?
Let's henshin and start the show!
Hello, fellow illusory royalty of the Gran Ocean, and welcome to episode 37 of
Cure of the What Now?
the one show where we know there is nothing at all suspicious or uncomfortable about a country having a memory erasing device just in the royal capital's basement. I'm your host, Kat, and I am a sea fairy who hasn't gotten nearly enough pets.
Very nice, very nice. I'm the co-host Joel, and I am a bubble flower farmer just working the field so that we can make more seashell cookies and solid perfume.
Do you feel as though you've been adequately compensated for your labor?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, good, because I was going to say you could always team up with your fellow laborers, your fellow farmers, and,
overthrow the monarchy. You know?
Not quite.
Yeah?
No,
okay,
listen.
Okay.
The queen is the queen because she's better than everyone else.
She's appointed by God.
Yeah, if you just overthrew the monarchy, who would you put in their place? Some rando?
And let me just say, no one has any memories of any misdeeds committed by the queen. It's a perfect place where everyone is happy. It's a utopia.
Absolutely. I'm so glad Tropical Rouge is back this week.
Tropical Rouge is indeed back.
Before we get into the succinct summary, do you have any announcements for me?
Okay, so I don't know if this counts as an announcement, but it was an interesting tweet that friend of the podcast, at the Ivanhobe on Twitter, was talking about. So apparently back in the day when Futari Wa was airing, it was a surprise hit. It did better than they thought it was going to, and that's why they extended the season to be twice as long, basically. But it still didn't outperform Sentai or Kamen Rider, which have been long established tokusatsu franchises. But then when Maho came out, that was season 13, I want to say, 12, 13, they finally outsold the first season of Super Sentai. And ever since, PreCure has been becoming more and more popular in terms of sales, whereas Sentai has been kind of left behind. So I just wanted to read a little excerpt from his tweet here about that. It is fascinating to see how PreCure has effectively left Sentai in the dust in terms of sales, mostly because PreCure owes most of its success to all the elements it borrowed from Sentai in its early years. I still remember back in the Maho days when everyone was shocked PreCure, who had always trailed behind Rider and Sentai, finally outsold the latter. Latter? I just want to say, and this is a podcast where we mostly try to prop up the things that we love and we try to focus on the positives, I am not surprised that PreCure is outselling Sentai, and I'm a little surprised that it is not outselling Kamen Rider, because I've seen a couple of seasons of original Japanese non-Power Rangers Sentai and Kamen Rider, and generally I don't like them as much. I think that there's stuff you can do in animation, like more expression, and you can do like brighter colors, and you have monsters that look more natural, because when you want to do it in live action, you have to either do CGI and get it exactly right and spend a bunch of money, or you have to build these models that are kind of stiff and don't have facial expressions.
So I have a joke, and it's not a joke I think you're going to appreciate, so feel free to cut it out if you don't like it. But listeners, Joel just doesn't know how to appreciate good things. So I really like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. I think that he's right that both of those shows try to push the facial expressions like you would in animation, and they can't exactly because real people aren't animated. But I do think that a lot of the monster designs or the suit designs are incredible, and just knowing the amount of work someone put into making them makes me appreciate it even more. Whereas this doesn't apply to the main series of PreCure, but to the 3D dance models, you had a computer generate that. That's nothing. And it is work. It's just not the same sort of visceral, hands-on work. So I think that you can get scenes that are a lot more impactful in terms of, you can put yourself into it in Sentai and Kamen Rider versus PreCure. That said, I also am not surprised that PreCure is outselling the other two, mostly because I think we're desperate for happy things. And PreCure is slightly happier and slightly more hopeful than those other two shows. I would say that the other two tend towards darker or more mature themes a little more often.
Okay, I would say that. And I have heard the argument that it is impressive when you see someone do something with physical effects and they manage to pull it off. Grant the Thief on Twitter is a big fan of, like, the rubber suit, Godzilla movies and stuff like that. I'm just saying that I feel that the animation, you can get a lot of really cool expressions and stuff in anime and Western animation and stuff like that. But then you have, I think his name is Gen from Kamen Rider Drive, doing these cartoon expressions, but he's not a cartoon. And so, like, I don't like that as much. And I appreciate that they're trying their best to be humorous, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I do think that if we were closer to the target age, then maybe we would find it funnier.
Maybe.
But as adults, we're just kind of like, oh, that's cringe. It's like when you have a friend who says sugoi unironically, but isn't Japanese. So, anyway, I think that's really interesting. PreCure actually outsold Pokemon too, didn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, I think they were like 8 and 9 on the list from the original tweet that...
Which is just incredible because Pokemon is literally the world's biggest franchise, as far as I know.
Yeah, I wonder if it's sold more overall and then certain years it does worse or better, or maybe they were only comparing like plush dolls or something, like a specific type of merchandise, whereas Pokemon's overall sales come from everything, including anime and the box sets and the games and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. Let's get into our discussion question. You had a good one this week.
Absolutely. Since the Tropical Rouge girls have come to the Gran Ocean and we've finally been able to explore it a little bit more, I thought it would be fun if we could come up with Gran Ocean original characters that could show up in the next couple of episodes or something.
Okay. And are you imagining these as mermaids or sea fairies?
I was imagining them as whatever your heart desired. Something that you would encounter in the Gran Ocean who could have some kind of a character, just any kind of characterization, right? Not just random fish number 7 in the background.
Okay. So mine is a sea fairy, and it is a cat shark, but twist, unlike real life cat sharks, it actually has like the cat ears and the little paws.
Okay.
It is a calico cat shark.
I love it. And how does this character interact with the Tropical Rouge girls? It doesn't have to be all of them. It could just be like one of them or something.
It likes shiny objects, so it steals the land beat ring.
They can't finish off the bad guy because there's this cat creature that stole it, and now they have to get it back. Okay, I really like that. I also went sea fairy direction. I don't really have a particular creature. Maybe it could be like a pufferfish, and then every time it like gets upset, it could like puff out a little bit. That'd be kind of funny as a visual gag. But what I was focusing more on in my brainstorming was its characterization. It is the stereotypical fan of the human world that you meet in the magical world. So they would have all of these ideas about like how humans work, and when they meet Songo or Manatsu or whoever, they would be asking all of these questions like, is it true that humans continue to grow for their entire life, sometimes reaching a maximum height of 30 feet?
Is it true that humans breathe through their skin?
They have like their treasured possession is like an action figure or a model of like Elvis Presley or something, and be like, is it true that this creature is worshipped among the humans?
I love it. Oh my goodness. It has no conception of real world human religion, but like it has this canon that it's created for itself.
Yes, exactly.
God, can you imagine one of the PreCure playing like an episode of Kamen Rider for this thing and it just loses its mind?
Absolutely. I also want to see more Kururuns. Like, I think what makes Kururun so unique is the fact that there's only Kururun, but like, could you imagine if you saw like a pod of Kururuns floating around in the background?
One of my friends posted a Facebook picture of a bunch of seals all laying on the harbor that they were walking past, and they're just these big, like, fat, happy plorf animals, and just a bunch of Kururuns, just like
all sunbathing,
plorfing out, just vibing.
I love it.
If that's the end of the discussion question, do you have a succinct summary for me this week?
Yes. So there's a couple of elements that aren't really like part of the episode, but part of the larger story. So the episode starts with Manatsu having a dream in which she is the legendary PreCure fighting what we see as the Witch of Delays, but Manatsu seems a little confused later. She says that she was fighting like a monster or something. After that, Laura gets invited to come to the Gran Ocean with all of the PreCure via the heart dresser, whatever it's called. And they go. Asuka's like, hey, is this a trap? And Laura's like, nah, it's not a trap. And then they go down and they meet the queen, and the queen's acting a little funny, not like petting Kururun quite as much as she used to, but that's okay. She has discovered that there's 2 rings. They already have the land ring, now it's time to find the marine ring, which is somewhere in the Gran Ocean, and can be found via the land ring, so they try to look for it a little bit. They come back for, like, lunch or something, I don't know. They come back to the queen to ask her about the dream that Manatsu had. And while talking, the queen says some really not queen-like things, and Laura goes, "Objection! You are not the queen. Who are you really?" And it turns out it's Minori using an illusion magic. And Kururun has been off on their own little adventure this entire time, and leads them, while being chased by Changi-Rei, to the basement where the real citizens of the Gran Ocean are hooked up to a memory stealing machine? Was that what it was?
Mm-hmm. A memory erasing machine, I think.
Okay, it was something that had to do with, weird memory stuff. And it turns out that everything that they've been seeing has been an illusion, and that all of the Gran Ocean citizens have still not gotten their motivation power back. This was a plot in order to fight the PreCure. The PreCure try to use all of their different attacks. It doesn't work against this new Yarane Da, which is a living creature turned into a Yarane Da, which is the first time that that's happened in the series. They finally decide they're going to band together and use the power of friendship, which summons the marine ring, which the butler immediately takes and goes, "Nya, nya, 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 nya," and that's where the episode ends. I can't believe that they ended the series at 37 episodes by drowning the PreCure.
Hey, they can't drown as long as they have their special lipstick. They just destroyed Laura's home and any chance she has of fulfilling her dream.
Yes, of course.
So, this was an episode. I think that I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say, so the butler knew. The butler was like, aha, your sincerity brings out the rings. So I knew if I got you to fight, that the ring would come out and I would be able to take it. So why bother pretending to be the queen at all? Why not just use the illusion magic to be like, look, we've got all of the citizens hostage. Come here and fight us if you want to save them.
Probably because that would be an abrupt tone shift. We've had this show that has like occasional moments of kind of like, since I don't know what I'm saying, sincere emotions, like where it's a little bit more adult oriented, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fumbling over my words. I think you know what I mean, though. And so if they just had an episode start with like, we will kill the citizens of Gran Ocean or whatever, right? We have a giant rock and we'll drop it if you don't show up.
We'll suck up every last drop of motivation they have and they'll sleep forever.
Yeah, exactly. I think that people would be like, whoa, this is kind of nightmarish. And it would make the fight or the tension of the episode go for the entire, 24 minutes or whatever. So by having it be an illusion that everything is fine, you can slowly guide the viewers to that moment of darkness, to the Zetsubo moment.
Okay, that's fair. Did you like the villain's scheme?
Yeah, I think so. The queen is a trusted authority figure, so if, she started telling them to do stuff, then they would kind of, go along with it. I appreciate that Minori not really having the same sort of, heart as everyone else, didn't understand, why Kururun would be so important, and didn't understand that being pushy about, hey, give me the ring, and that sort of thing would reveal the plans.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that this is an episode that has an actual plot, so that's kind of nice.
Yes, I am really happy that we're kind of in the end game, so they're whipping plot out now. We have to talk about the memory machine.
Yep.
Because Minori says when the PreCure are like, oh, that's horrible, you're so mean. She says, don't blame us. That was here when we got here. Why? What? Why?
I believe that they've made entire movies about the premise of memory erasing machines and false memories and stuff like that. Total Recall comes to mind.
Do you mean you recall Total Recall?
But, I guess you could kind of make the argument that, like, The Matrix is a little bit like that, because you don't know if you're, like, in the real world or if there's, like, a device that's changing your perception. There's a couple of others that come to mind. But in a PreCure show, I wonder how deep they will go into it. They're not going to do like, I think it was Bloodshot was the one where the guy didn't know like which of his memories were real. They're not going to do that as a PreCure. The PreCure have not been brainwashed or something like that. But it is obviously setting up for something that happened in the past.
Well, and Numeri was able to use the memories that this machine collected to make illusions of the Gran Ocean citizens. So I wonder if the dreams Minatsu has been having are related to that. I wonder if the legendary PreCure had to give up her memories for some reason.
Oh, okay. I've seen a couple of different theories. Some people have commented that the device that we see on the sea fairies kind of looks like the helmet thing on the Witch of Delays, which is pretty interesting. We know that the Witch of Delays had a dream where some girl was running ahead of her and she's like, where are you going? Can you, come here. And so I think for now, my theory is that the Witch of Delays and the legendary PreCure were friends. Tragedy happened, and one of them turned evil, and then the other one had to turn good in order to stop her evil friend, and that explains why in Minatsu's dream she was so sad fighting the Witch of Delays, because it's like, this is my best friend that I knew for 10 years or something, and now I have to, not put her down exactly, but I have to stop her evil schemes.
Right, absolutely. But it's just interesting that a seemingly, like, good kingdom would have this thing. Mm-hmm. I also want to shout out really quick, I loved Minori's excitement over being in a real fairy tale kingdom.
This was Minori's best episode so far, by far.
Absolutely.
When she was trying to figure out like what type of kingdom it would be, and Asuka's like, oh, she's already in the Gran Ocean or whatever, and oh, that was so good.
It was. Do you have any other favorite quotes or moments?
I kind of like sleepy Laura and Kururun when Minatsu wakes up from their dream being like, you're being kind of loud, and Kururun just like, Kururun, wiping their eyes in order to wake up. I feel like there was more. Oh, we find out that Laura does not have parents. She is born from a magical pearl, which makes her related to mollusks. She could be a clam, she could be an oyster, she could be all sorts of different things.
A gooey duck.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Google those if you want to see something very funny.
Yeah.
Listeners, yeah. Anyway, so I liked that. I liked them all trying to figure out, like, which mollusk is she closest related to? And then Laura's like, you could have just called me a pearl. Did you know that pearls are formed from a substance that oysters secrete when they become irritated by, like, a grain of sand or something?
Interesting.
Yeah, so the actual animal is inside the shell. And if, like, a grain of sand gets in the shell, it can, like, start damaging their body, because sand is abrasive. So they secrete this goo that wraps the sand up, and over time,
it builds
more
up.
and more goo builds up, and that's how you get pearls. So I like pearls. They're pretty, but we're wearing oyster slime.
I mean, lots of things come from slime.
That's true.
Honey comes from a bee's behind. And do you ever use toothpaste? Whose behind does that come out from?
Hey. Honey is vomit. Comes out of their mouth.
Very exciting. Also, I don't believe that you played Mario 64, but in Mario 64, there are enemies that you defeat by running around them really fast. There's an eyeball enemy and there's a snowball enemy. So, obviously Kururun has played Mario 64, because that's how he exposes Numeri as the imposter.
What do you think Kururun's favorite video game is?
You think Kururun's into Fortnite? Do you think Kururun is...
Kururun for DDR, just like slapping the buttons with their fins.
I think Kururun likes to play farm sims. I think Kururun likes to sit in Asuka's lap while she tends the turnips or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. Kururun! No, it's not time to sell the turnips yet. The prices aren't high enough. Kururun! I'm not selling them. The next day turnip prices are like 1 bell.
Oh my goodness gracious. is that basically every... Oh, they had a shout out to... In the episode when Laura got her bubble shooter or whatever it's called, I can't remember, she followed a nostalgic scent, which was set up for this episode where they go to the bubble flower field and they give off a fragrance. That is what Laura recognized. So, I have been calling out this show for being very episodic, but it does have occasional glimpses of the overall plot,
That's nice. I like that. At this point in the series, right, a lot of people kind of say, you'll be bored with PreCure up until the last 10 episodes, and then it's like, wow, stuff is happening. And I don't necessarily like that as a formula for a show. I would rather have continuity the whole time.
Sure.
However, Tropical Rouge, even now that it's picking up the pace and it's trying to introduce more plot, I still think it has a good balance of just being a goofy, fun show. Like, this is just a fun Saturday morning cartoon, and who cares if you saw last week's episode? You're probably fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be clear, I'm not saying that I want, every episode of every show to always logically lead into the next. I guess I just felt like at the beginning of the series we didn't really have a goal. It was just go and become PreCure, and it's okay, now we're PreCure, now what? Goofy episodes, put on some makeup, join the tennis club, become podcasters. Oh, now we're gonna hit you with some plot. And that's the thing that bothers me a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the strength of Kira, is that they had a goal for every 7 sets.
Yeah, exactly. Star Twinkle also handled that quite nicely. For the first half of the season, they were looking for magic MacGuffins, and you didn't really need to know that the MacGuffins existed from episode to episode, but by the time you got to the point where they had them all, then a new goal appeared, and then they had to pursue that, so...
Absolutely. It's nice to have the characters trying to do something.
Exactly.
So, if that's all of our thoughts on Tropical Rouge, do you want to talk about Futari Wa or Fresh?
Let's get the vegetables out of the way. Eat that asparagus. So have you ever heard of William Shakespeare?
Once or twice, I think.
Okay, he's known in some circles, right?
Is he a famous movie director?
He's sort of like a movie director is he from the 1600s? Is that about the right... I know Shakespeare is famous. I know he is attributed with coming up with a third of the English language, but I don't know his actual what year he started writing and stuff.
I don't either. History's not my strong suit. I did have a professor in college who wrote her doctoral thesis on the true identity of William Shakespeare, because apparently that's pretty heavily debated.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So... This episode, the class that Nagisa and Honoka are in are doing a Romeo and Juliet play. They are voting on who gets to be the different characters. So who is Romeo and who is Juliet? You'd be surprised to find out that it's Nagisa and Honoka.
Right, Nagisa is obviously Juliet because she's very feminine and delicate.
Yeah. And Honoka is constantly she's very physical. She's in all the sports, so they made her Romeo.
Except the opposite of that.
Right, yeah, we're doing a bit, so don't be confused. They picked the short-haired, kind of tomboyish one to be Romeo. The one who's popular with all the girls gets to be Romeo. It turns out Nagisa is not good at play acting, so that's kind of the plot for a little bit, until Jura shows up and attacks them on stage, and now it seems like Romeo and Juliet has turned into an action flick, which, to be clear, the director in their class wanted to be more action-oriented, but she did not anticipate animated suits of armor attacking Romeo and Juliet during the Wherefore Art Thou Romeo scene. They transform, and everyone thinks that it's part of the play, and they send the bad guy away, and everyone really likes the play. Also, just like in Tropical Rouge, there's a scene that I don't think is actually important for this episode, but I think is setting up for things to come. There's 3 bad guys. There's Jura, maybe it's Juna, I don't remember. There is the girl one, Beatrice, I think, or Belize, something like that. And then there's the creepy doctor guy with the lightning hair, whose name's Belze or something. Jura indicates to the Zakena maids, butlers, whatever you want to call them, that they are supposed to report every mistake made to Dark King. But Belze says, we're going to let this one slide, and Jura's kind of Why? So at this point, I'm starting to wonder if maybe Belze has his own machinations separate from what the Dark King wants.
Maybe he's going to slurp up Jakku King like spaghetti, and then he'll be the final boss.
Belze just finished watching Healin' Good and saw like how that kind of played out, and he's like, maybe I could be like that. I could be the one who absorbs the other one.
Yep.
Did you like this episode?
Yes. I thought it was cute, and it had a pretty relatable plot, which I think is a strength of this season, is that pretty much all of the situations they end up in that aren't superhero related are very much like, oh yeah, that happened to me, or that happened to a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny that the only people who got, like, named parts in the play were the characters we already know. So, like, one of Nagisa's best friends is the director, and her other two friends are the costume designers, and then who cares about anybody else?
Yeah. Though Futari Wa only has 24 minutes to get through the plot and sell the toys, so...
Absolutely. It's funny to me how... Pretty consistently, I would say one failing of PreCure is that you have them usually exist in classes full of other students, but it's very rare that any of those other people matter or even have, like, names or relationships.
Yeah, and very rarely do you see students in school. Like, Ichika, I don't think we ever saw her at school other than, like, when CL was first introduced to class or whatever, and she turned into a fairy or something.
I think Princess probably did it the best because... the academy was kind of a core piece of the plot of the show. She was learning how to be a proper young lady.
Absolutely.
So I feel like most of her classmates had roles to play in that one. But Futari Wa, we've only got these three. And to be fair, the 3 or 4 that we have are pretty well fleshed out, I would say.
I loved the callback to the fact that the 2 costume designers were the ones who made their own PreCure outfits several episodes ago. I thought that was cute. I liked that a lot.
That was cute. If you wanted to be like the one girl, you could have said several episodes ago. It's funny because that's a quirk of her character that doesn't make it into the subtitles. But if you're paying attention, you can still hear it because, like, she'll say, you know... moto, like 3 times. She'll be like, moto, and the subtitles will just say, more than that, right?
Yeah,
so they don't necessarily translate the kind of way she speaks versus the way that other characters speak. But I like her. She's very enthusiastic, so all of her words come out a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
This episode was gay, wasn't it?
This episode was pretty gay, absolutely. So... Nagisa was having trouble with her lines, but then they get into a fight, and Nagisa decides that she's going to push herself to the limit, everybody to the limit, who's that? They're to the limit. And they defeat the bad guy, but she's still, like, exhausted afterwards, but they need to finish the play. So she, like, walks and then falls and has to crawl back to Honoka. They take each other's hand in hand, and then they don't do a kiss because that would be too gay for conservative Japan, but they do a monologue, or it wouldn't be a monologue if there's 2 of them, but they do speak to each other on stage, kind of like looking at each other, and then they hug, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's so beautiful, wow.
Mm-hmm. It was very sweet.
Absolutely. I did not feel the Nagisa Honoka, like, romantic tension that I've seen a lot of people on Twitter very excited about, but certain episodes like this do help kind of push it forward. So it's not like 2 girls like each other and the season is about them, like, telling each other about it or expressing those feelings or nurturing those feelings. It's more like these 2 girls will eventually have feelings, and here's all of the times that, like, it ramped up to that point, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you like this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. I thought it was kind of strange that Nagisa decided to use the fairies to cheat to tell her lines. And someone even points out, isn't this cheating? But she justifies it with, like, but the play will be bad if I'm bad. Yeah, maybe you should have tried a little harder to memorize the lines.
Hey, it's not her fault. Her head is empty.
She is very stupid. She took one too many lacrosse tricks to the head.
You'd think that having an empty head means you can fit more stuff in there, but actually it means everything just falls out.
The reason she can't memorize her lines is because her head is just full of eclairs. She just stuffs them in her ear, and then they stay in there, and now she can't learn anything.
Perfect. You know who else is a perfect head empty cinnamon bun?
Manatsu Love. Wait, Momozona Love.
Momozona Love, that's right. We watched 2 episodes of Fresh PreCure this week.
It's the Setsuna Hour, boop-a-doop-a-doo. As always happens when you get the new 6th Ranger, you have a couple of episodes that kind of flesh out their character and their dynamic with the teams. So in the first episode, it's Setsuna basically having war flashbacks. She runs into the boy and his dog, the dog that Setsuna turned into a monster in that episode when we got introduced to Kier Pine. And Setsuna is worried that she can't be forgiven for her sins. But then she realizes that the dog really likes her, and Love is like, I think you can do it, and then she decides that she can do it, and she comes out of her shell even more than in the previous episode. Episode 26. I forgot to, in case you're listening, we watched episodes 25 and 26 this week. Next week, do we want to watch 1 or 2 episodes?
Let's say 2.
Okay, so next episode, we will be covering episodes 27 and 28 of Fresh PreCure. But episode 26, Love is basically like, do you want to join the dance team? And Setsuna is nervous about joining the dance team. She's not quite confident that she can smile and stuff, but then she and Pine have some cute moments together where Pine's basically like, believe in yourself, because I once didn't believe in myself, and you should believe in yourself. And Setsuna then believes in herself, and she joins the team, and she's super happy. Also, it's a beach episode, so that's nice.
Pine and Setsuna dancing together when all the other girls were at dinner was so cute.
It really was, yeah, absolutely. Pine, the thing that made her join the team feel like she was contributing something was the fact that she was able to make the matching outfits that she and the other 2 girls wear. So in this episode, you get a hint at the very beginning of the episode that Pine is tired for some reason as they're getting ready to go to this summer camp. And then you get a scene of her like looking through her bag and be like, oh, I thought I forgot something, but I guess not. I here it is. Here's the towel. And then at the end of the episode, it turns out that the thing she forgot that Setsuna teleported to go get is her matching outfit. So now Setsuna has joined the dance club.
Yeah, oh yeah. All the keys have magic powers, and Akarun's magic key powers that it can teleport places.
Pretty convenient.
Tart tells them this as they're getting ready to get on the train, and then they teleport to the beach house and they leave Tart there.
Not on purpose, but yeah, it takes them a couple of minutes to realize they left him behind. And Setsuna's the one who realizes, and the other 3 girls have this like, oh no, we left the baby ferret back home.
Yes. Also, my favorite boy, Westar, made a great showing in this episode. Bless his heart.
Head empty. That's the true head empty person in this series.
It really is. He gets so excited to go to the beach. He's got his shorts on and his surfboard, and he's like, the beach is such a fun time. There will be so many people I can make miserable. And he's imagining himself like on top of a...
Zakena? No.
Nakewameke.
Nakewameke. That's like running like beach, what's that show called?
I know the one you're talking about with David Hasselhoff, but I don't remember what it's called. Baywatch.
Baywatch, like slow motion running.
Yes, but he ends up on the mountain because he got on the wrong train. And then he's like, how do I get to the ocean? And an old man looks at a river, and he looks at the way it's flowing, and he goes, that way. And so Westar rides his surfboard all the way to the ocean. And by the time he gets there, it's night, so there's no people to make miserable, and he's sad. I love you, Westar.
Westar is pretty excellent. I love that he picked a random place to attack that was not the city, and it happened to be the one place that the girls were going to for... Awfully convenient that the bad guys always choose to attack the place that the girls are at.
Right? I think that there are shows that did it better. Like Kira. I always go back to Kira, but they specifically were going after the PreCure. So if the PreCure went somewhere else, of course that's where the bad guys would go. Or in Futari Wa, it's the same kind of thing. But here, it's just kind of a coincidence.
It's okay. It's an early season, and they figure it out later. Do you prefer them being targeted by the bad guys, and so therefore the bad guys will appear wherever the girls are, or do you prefer something like Latte that can sense the direction the evil is in and they have to run there to get there?
I like something like Latte because I feel like it gives you more opportunities for drama. For example, the episode where Latte sensed bad guys in 3 different directions, and the PreCure had to be like, where do we go?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I just thought I would ask because those are like the 2 ways to solve the problem that I've seen, other than just pure, they happen to be attacking the museum that the girls are going to on a field trip today.
What's that? The girls changed their mind and are going on a forest walk instead? Guess where the bad guys are attacking.
The bad guys also changed their minds, decided that there wasn't enough mayhem to be had at the museum.
Absolutely. Which one do you prefer?
Yeah, I think I prefer them having to go to wherever the bad guys are. That also increases the tension a little bit insofar as they might be, like, out enjoying themselves, having, like, a shopping day or something, or they're at, like, a soccer game or something, and then the radar goes off and they go, oh no, someone's attacking. Oh, that's my home! You know, like, you can have drama about revealing the location that's being attacked as well.
Absolutely. So, on our quest to make the perfect PreCure season, the one good thing we can take from Healin' Good is, I know where the bad guys are.
We can also take frickin' Hinata, the best frickin' character in all of
You
PreCure.
just want a...
ADHD girl?
It's not a Genki girl. What's the pronoun? The Atashi?
I think it's Atashi. Yeah.
You just want an Atashi girl. It doesn't have to be Hinata specifically. You just want somebody with, like, big energy and no brains.
A running theme through today's episode, I think.
Exactly. Imagine Westar as a PreCure.
He'd rock the outfit. He
Right?
would. Yeah, absolutely.
Pure straw? Is he a strawberry? Pure pear?
Oh, yeah, I don't... We'd have to ask.
Pure dragon.
For dragon fruit? Okay. What about pure mango?
Pure papaya? No.
That already exists. One thing I do want to point out is that we got an alternate opening now. They changed the lyrics slightly. They have a different singer, I think that you said. And there's a moment in the original, and then the first opening that showed the 3 cures on the right side of the screen and then the 3 people on the left side of the screen. Now we get 4 people on the right side of the screen because Passion is here. And on the left side of the screen, we still have 3, but the third one is shrouded in shadow. You and I have constantly been asking, when's North going to show up? Because you have East, Westar, and Solar. The thing that I think is interesting about, I'm assuming their name is Northar, but it's a woman. They have a female figure, and so I wonder if that's
relevant. I'm expecting her name to be Norsu.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because only one of them has the Lar ending. They each have kind of a unique ending to their name.
Okay.
So
until they show up, we'll just call them North. But I do, I just appreciate that they lost their token female representation. And they're adding another woman on the team. That's the real reason she didn't show up in the first half of the season, is because only one woman, this stage is only big enough for one woman.
Oh, heck, what if they befriend her, too? What if they just keep stealing women from Labyrinth?
The real reason every evil team only ever has mostly men and then, like, the one woman is because women can be redeemed. Men are just evil to their cores.
Oh, dear. Do you have any tweets in a bottle this week?
I do. So, like I mentioned in the Tropical Rouge episode, Numeri posing as the queen basically is like, who cares about that stupid pet Kururun? Which, how dare you, Numeri? You have your own pet. Her name is Elda, and you care about her very much. Try some empathy. But James's only response to that was, first off, how dare you?
Right? Yeah. Who cares about Kururun? Who cares about you, you stinky MILF cucumber?
Oh my goodness. Also, the part where Numeri came out of the illusion because she got dizzied or whatever, James said, this is the SpongeBob skin suit all over again. I was too afraid to Google that term, but I guess that must have been something in the SpongeBob community or maybe a meme or something, but...
You know, I watched SpongeBob as a kid, where I know you don't, and I have no idea what he's alluding to, so I'm frightened, but intrigued, but scared. You've also got one.
If you woke up in the middle of the night and there was just a door, and the door had SpongeBob skin suit worn on it, you would not open that door. You would go in the other direction, and you'd be like, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see that door.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think eventually curiosity might overtake me. I might go get a baseball bat.
What if you hear, like, scratching sounds on the side of the door, or, like, sloshing sounds.
Nope, I'm not that dumb. Mama did not raise a fool.
Absolutely.
You also have one, a thought from your PreCure Discord that you're in.
From the PreCure Discord, that's right. So their username is Boogeyman Silhouette or Triple Z. I didn't exactly explicitly ask for people's tweets in a bottle, so Boogeyman or Triple Z, whichever one you prefer. If you're listening and you're like, hey, you shouldn't have talked about this on the mic, I apologize and I won't do it again. But there's just a channel where they talk about the latest episode, and I thought this one was the most interesting.
Joel's nicer than me. My philosophy is if you post something online, as long as you're credited, it belongs to everyone. Public square!
But anyways, and we now learn that living beings can be turned into Yarane Daws, and we ask ourselves, so when are the villains themselves turning into Yarane Daws?
That's brilliant. Like, obviously, as soon as I read that, I was like, that has to be where this is going. But it didn't occur to me while I was watching the episode, so thank you, Boogeyman Silhouette. You and your excellent username have contributed something great to my brain.
Headcanon to your... Yeah. I will say that there were other talks and murmurs in this channel about Numeri and Chongyurei and Elda say that they were told not to turn living things into Yarane Daws, like it's a taboo or something like that. And it's not explicitly stated why that is. I assume that it's for two reasons. One, they seem to be very destructive. The one from this episode, it was Noctopus, by the way, was doing too much damage to its surroundings, so maybe they're hard to control. But then also, is it possible that you could just appeal to the human or the living thing underneath the Yarane Daw and they could fight free of the control, you know, like you've seen in, well, like, say, Spider-Man in the black suit, for example?
It could be. I think that it's probably the first one, that it's just too powerful and too uncontrollable, and I expect in the next episode we will see it turn on Numeri and Chongyurei and Elde. It probably will be mad that it just was living its octopus life and they put a monster in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, my very boring answer for when will the generals turn into Yarane Daws? If there's 46 episodes... 46 is going to be a flash forward / meet the next cure, the delicious party or whatever. 45 will be the big finale, so 43, 42, and 41 will be when we get Yarane Daw, Chongyurei, Numeri, and Elda. Or they could subvert our expectations by having one of them, or maybe two of them, turn into Yarane Daws, and then the remaining ones who are still normal, not Yarane Daws, would be like, no, we love you, this might shorten your lifespan, please come back to us, and it turns out that they're a happy family and they're willing to step aside to let the PreCure beat the crap out of whatever demon is possessing, the world.
Two thoughts. What if the butler turns all three of them into Yarane Daws at once?
Oh, okay.
Or he could turn two of them, like you were saying, and maybe Elde would be like, no, Chongyurei, Numeri, I love you!
Yeah.
And that will be what turns them against the Witch of Delays.
Yeah.
Other thought, what if the butler turns the Witch of Delays into his Yarane Daw?
Ooh.
We are one step closer to Butler piloting the Witch of Delays like a mech.
Oh my gosh, you called that all those podcast episodes ago, all those weeks ago.
Right? Gosh, we've been doing this for almost a year.
We have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good for us.
And not a single episode has ever been late. Not one. Never, ever.
If it's our podcast and we decide when it goes up, then it would be impossible for an episode to be late because we just decided that a different day was the primo time.
We decided that. So, looking forward, episode 37's titled Mermaid's Memories, Get Back Marine Ring.
So it'll probably be Laura's memories, right?
Maybe. I find it interesting that Laura had a hard time placing where she remembered the scent from, although that could be attributed to the fact that it happened when she was very little. But if there is a memory machine, I think it would be interesting if it has been affecting things, and in order to beat the bad guy, they have to uncover the secrets of the mystery, like a game of Danganronpa.
Okay, I like it. I have some very frightening news.
Yeah.
That One Welder guy, James, has just posted a YouTube video in our Discord titled SpongeBob SquarePants Skin Theory.
Do we want to cover that as part of this podcast episode? We did bring it up.
I think we will have to talk about it next week.
All right. Very well. And that has been your doot final thought outro goes here. Today we'll be dancing with me, but I'll take your memories of it.
And I'll take your skin. What a shining episode of Cure of the What Now. Thanks for being our Nakama.
Thank you as always for your support. If you could, very kindly, be sure to like or share this with any of your friends. Let them know that we're always open to suggestions or thoughts about any particular episode.
And please take a moment to rate and review us on wherever you get our podcast from. Except for YouTube. You can't rate and review us on YouTube, but you can like and subscribe.
Absolutely. If you like what we're doing, even just a comment that says keep up the great work is always helpful for brightening our day.
Absolutely. Joel, where can our fine listeners find you if they want more of you?
Absolutely. The best way to get in touch with us is to go onto Twitter and find us at KOTWN_pod. That's where we're most active. But of course, we also have a Gmail. That's kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com.
You can also find me at Pirate Ghost Host.
She is much more prolific than I am, but not all of her content is necessarily about the podcast, whereas the other one tries to focus more on the show.
You like our sticker sheets? Joel's got sticker sheets for you. And that has been your Tropica outro.
Do-do-do-do. You'll be dancing with me today.